Welcome to the Sportsman's Voice Roundup, your weekly look at conservation and sporting community news happening across the nation on the Hill. Thanks for tuning in. This is the TSV Roundup.
The other side of 2024. I hope you guys had a great end of your 24 and got time to spend with family, friends, time afield. Some of y'all still got some seasons going on. So for whatever the time was, I hope it's well spent. I hope you enjoyed it. Many of you are enjoying the winter weather as we speak. Throughout the middle of the country. Be safe out there. Do enjoy a blast of wintry weather. I'm not interested in having it anytime soon, so you guys can continue to have it, although it's quite cold here in the great Northeast, but I digress. Welcome back, everybody, to your weekly look at news and conservation from around the nation, the Sportsman's Voice Roundup. This is the first official roundup for the week of January 6, 2025. Let's get to the headlines. New year brings new leadership to the CSF Board of Directors. Things got pretty busy at the end of the 118th while we were on holiday. President signs a couple sportsman's-related acts. The ACE Reauthorization Act, as well as the Explore Act, are signed into law. Mississippi Legislative Sportsmen's Caucus elects leadership. Recent Suppressor registrations eclipse numbers for the NFA's first 8 decades combined. That coming from Barry Snell. Firearm privacy legislation heads to Governor DeWine's desk in Ohio. That coming from Bob Matthews. And finally, sort of a retrospective look at the voting cycle that was 2024. Lessons learned. Christian Ragosta brings us voting registration for hunters and anglers. We'll get to all that, but let's start off with news here at CSF. Our new board of directors elected. This coming from our press release at the end of last week, second day of the year. CSF, the nation's leading authority in outdoor advocacy, announced that its board of directors, the board, has elected CEO of Rather Outdoors LLC, Ken Eubanks, as the chairman, executive director of Wildlife Mississippi, James Cummins as vice chairman, and CEO of Ducks Unlimited, Adam Putnam, as secretary, and rounding it out, founder and CEO, Silencer Central, Brandon Maddox, as treasurer. 2025 also brings the appointment of new board member David Walecki, CEO of South Carolina Waterfowl Association. Quote, as an avid sportsman, I have seen how important it is that we have a force advocating for us on Capitol Hill and across the country. CSF's steadfast commitment to protecting and promoting hunting, angling, recreational shooting, and trapping in the halls of government pays tremendous dividends to the sporting conservation community, and the importance of that cannot be stated enough, said board chairman Ken Eubanks. CSF's board of directors is made up of some of the most incredible leaders in the conservation realm, and I am honored for the opportunity to serve alongside them as chairman, helping the Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation in their fight for sportsmen and women across the country, he continued. The mission of the CSF board of directors is to work with the foundation's leadership and staff to protect and advocate and advance our outdoor heritage. Through consistent support and engagement, members of the CSF board lend their experience to the foundation in a diversity of experiential areas. As fellow sportsmen and women, the board takes a leadership role in supporting the critical policy work which the foundation executes at both federal and state levels, and all other aspects of the foundation that support CSF's mission. Quote, with over 1,200 victories at the state and federal levels in the past 6 years, CSF has continued to make significant progress. However, the work is far from done, said CSF's own President and CEO Jeff Crane. He continues, with many new challenges on the horizon, we are looking forward to working with the diverse members of the board of directors and continue blazing the trail and making a difference for all sportsmen and women who are truly the backbone of conservation in this amazing country, end quote. This, folks, is an impressive list, and truly, you get a chance, you can go on our website, csf.org. You can go to our board, see who's on there. I mean, this is a really diverse, as the article says, group of folks, talent, leadership, expertise. I mean, it's just, I'm not going to go through the whole list. You go there, check it out. We also have our honorary board of directors for 2025. That's there. Uh, Pretty well a who's who in the conservation space, and some pretty impressive resumes to back these impressive names out. So, uh, super stoked to have Ken on board. We brought you some sound from him from our Wine Wheels event this past fall, so you can go back in the archives and check that out. Hear from Ken and get some thoughts from him. But yeah, really excited to get to work with him, his leadership at the board, and to see what he brings with his enthusiasm and his energy and his leadership. So it should be a whole lot of fun working with Ken. We will have him on soon to reintroduce him to you, the audience, and then kind of have more time with Ken to break down his goals and aspirations, and what he's looking to advance while he is our chairman. So welcome to the new board members, and uh, nothing but success and good wishes for all those on the board. Moving on. President signs the ACE Reauthorization Act, another top CSF priority. This coming on Monday of this week, the America's Conservation Enhancement Reauthorization Act, ACE, a bipartisan bill to bolster fish, wildlife, and habitat conservation and to protect access for anglers across the nation, was recently signed into law by a president. Notably, this was one of our 4 CSF priorities that cleared the House of Representatives under suspension of the rules, and the Senate unanimously, this Congress, demonstrating the ability for CSF to deliver wins for sportsmen and women, regardless of the political landscape. Boy, howdy, that is absolutely true. And I think I said at the top, it was a pretty fast and furious end of the 118th and getting stuff done, and some significant victories here for sportsmen and women of this country. I continue. Let's move on. The legislation was led by Senate in the Senate by Congressional Sportsmen's Caucus members, Senators Carver, Capito, CSS, CSC leaders, Senators Bozeman and King, among others. The House companion bill was led by current CSC members and former CSC leaders, Reps Whitman, Thompson, Dingell, and current CSC co-chair, Rep Panetta, among others. First enacted in 2020, the ACE Act has been a longstanding priority of CSF. Prior to the Senate's passage of the ACE Reauthorization Act, CSF worked to build support for this important priority through the House floor alert, urging co-sponsorship of the bill to demonstrate broad congressional support, among other efforts that helped push the bill to the president's desk. CSF's thanks to Congressional Sportsmen's Caucus members who were instrumental in seeing the ACE Reauthorization Act clear Congress and head to the president's desk for his signature. This legislation demonstrates yet again that conservation and issues of importance to sportsmen and women continue to be bipartisan issues across Congress, said our own President and CEO, Jeff Crane. He continues, "We look forward to the president quickly signing this bill into law to deliver on the ground meaningful conservation for fish and wildlife, as well as key protection for our nation's anglers." Specifically, ACE Reauthorization Act includes conservation programs such as the North American Wetlands Conservation Act, the National Fish Habitat Partnership Program. NACA provides strategic investments to conserving and restoring degraded wetland across North America. Since its inception 35 years ago, NACA has provided over $2.1 billion in federal grants and has leveraged more than $5 billion in non-federal contributions. In total, There have been over 3,300 NACA projects that have contributed to the conservation of nearly 32 million acres of wetlands in the United States, Mexico, and Canada. NFHP is a state and locally driven collection of partnerships that work to conserve priority aquatic habitat, restore fish populations, and enhance recreational fishing opportunities. CSF Senior Director of Fisheries Policy was recently reappointed to serve on the congressionally authorized NFHP board that offers guidance for the partnership and helps direct funding for the on-the-ground projects. Furthermore, the ACE Reauthorization Act will provide a 5-year protection to prohibit the EPA from regulating the use of lead fishing tackle under the purview of the Toxic Substance Control Act. Despite efforts by the environmental community, the EPA has consistently reaffirmed that they do not have the authority to regulate lead tackle under TSCA. CSF thanks our bill sponsors of the American Conservation Enhancement Act for their continued leadership throughout the 118th Congress. Let's go down another victory lap. Let's have another victory lap. Explore Act signed into law. Recently, the president added the final signature to H.R. 6492, the Expanding Public Lands Outdoor Recreational Experience Act, Explore. This legislation is the most comprehensive public lands package to pass Congress since 2019 and includes a number of longstanding priorities for the CSF. The legislation marks the 5th CSF priority that crossed the finish line to become law in the 118th Congress. CSF would like to thank CSC co-chair Representative Bruce Westerman for leading the Explore Act and CSC co-chair Senator Joe Manchin for leading the Senate companion bill, the America Outdoor Recreation Act, as well as dozens of CSC members who made the bill a reality. The Explore Act is a common sense piece of legislation that will improve access opportunities for sportsmen and women across the country. The passage of the Explore Act is a clear result of the leadership of the CSC members, Congressman Bruce Westerman, Senator Joe Manchin, and other members of the Congressional Sportsmen's Caucus who continue to demonstrate their commitment to sportsmen and women, said President and CEO of CSF, Jeff Crane. The Explore Act is a robust package that contains a number of important provisions to increase access for sportsmen and women. One of the most impactful provisions is the language that will bolster recreational shooting opportunities by requiring the U.S. Forest Service and the Bureau of Land Management to have a minimum of one target shooting range free to the public in each of their respective districts. At a time when safe and accessible places to target shoot are increasingly more difficult to find, this provision is critical to enhance our recreational shooting traditions. Amen. Additionally, the Explore Act contains another longstanding CSF priority that would streamline the permitting process for small film crews, that's 6 or fewer individuals, conducting filming and photography on federal lands. Under the current law, small film crews are treated the same way in the permitting process as large-scale Hollywood productions. However, the legislation will make it clear that no additional film or photography permits are required for those small film crews, in accordance with the other applicable laws and permitting regulations. The provision would make it easier for sportsmen and women, outdoor production companies, and others to promote and share their federal land recreational experiences. Explore Act will also aid federal agencies in their efforts to prevent the spread of aquatic invasive species, which pose serious threat to native aquatic ecosystems and the economy. Once established, invasive species are difficult, if not impossible, to eradicate, and significant resource must be invested annually in population management. Preventing harmful introduction of aquatic invasive species before they occur is the most effective means to avoid risk. These provisions are just a few of the many contained in the Explorer Act, which will improve hunting, fishing, recreational shooting, and trapping access across the nation. CSF is proud to see this legislation pass Congress and be signed by the president, and we look forward to implementing the provisions of this important legislation in the coming months. Awesome. Let's go down to Mississippi, hear from Mark Lance on their recent local elections. On December 3rd, during a caucus organizational meeting, Representatives Scott Bounds, who also serves as a member of the NASC Executive Council, and Carl Gibbs were elected as House co-chairs, and Senators Kevin Blackwell and Juan Barnett were elected as Senate co-chairs. The newly elected co-chairs will serve through the remainder of the current legislative term ending in 2028. Additionally, during the December 3rd meeting, the caucus voted to amend and update the caucus bylaws for the first time since the caucus's inception in 2006, further ensuring the proud history of the strong caucus leadership will continue. The co-chairs provide leadership on sporting conservation policy and protect Mississippi's rich sporting heritage to ensure interests hunters, anglers, and recreational shooters and trappers are represented by pro-sportsman legislators in the Mississippi legislature. The Mississippi Legislative Sportsmen's Caucus is among the largest and most engaged caucuses in the NAS network. They've also experienced a number of big wins for Mississippi's hunters and anglers over the past several years. For example, in 2023, the caucus has successfully protected the financial privacy of Mississippi's hunters and recreational shooters by prohibiting payment card networks from requiring or incentivizing the use of merchant category codes that distinguish firearm retailers from other retailers. In 2022, caucus member Trey Lamar authored legislation co-sponsored by the NASA Executive Council member Representative Scott Bounds that created an additional source of conservation funding for the state, the Mississippi Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund. In 2020, the caucus was instrumental in legislation which authorized a hunter education course for students in grades 7 through 12. That is awesome. The caucus typically hosts a variety of events each year to educate policymakers about economic impacts and conservation funding benefits sportsmen and women provide Mississippi. In 2023, Mississippi sportsmen and women generated over $42 million in conservation funding through the American System of Conservation Funding model. The 100-plus members of the Mississippi Legislative Sportsmen's Caucus recognize the importance of hunting, fishing, recreational shooting, and trapping. The bipartisan bicameral caucus serves to protect and promote these outdoor traditions and do so successfully. CSF looks forward to continuing to working alongside the caucus to advance and protect pro-sportsmen initiatives in the Magnolia State. And I think, as we said, towards the end of the year, Mississippi, along with Tennessee, are co-hosting our NAS Summit. I know it feels like we just had it, and we've got through the end of one year, and we're at the beginning, but we are truly already looking towards December 2025, if you can believe it, as we prepare for a co-branded and co-shared two-state deal there, Mississippi and Tennessee. We'll be certainly talking more about that as the year goes on. So great stuff there out of Mississippi. Recent suppressor registration eclipse numbers from the NFA's first 8 decades. That's from Barry Snell. Pretty cool article here highlighting. Barry goes into, stuff we've covered as we've talked about suppressors, their benefits, truly what they are, what they are not. What's neat that Barry's highlight here is a recent FOIA request to the ATF from our friends over at NSSF. They received additional number of suppressors registered from May of 2021 to July 2024. So this is highlighting the numbers of silencers and suppressors that were registered in each state. There was the preceding final edition in May of 2021 that reported 2.6 million suppressors in the U.S. more than doubling the 1.3 million disclosed by the Department of Justice in 2017. Now, in these updated numbers, that report reveals that an astounding near 2.2 million more suppressors were sold from almost a little over 3-year time span, which now means a whopping 4.86 million silencers and counting are in possession by law-abiding Americans as the middle of 2024. The perspective here is that NFA started requiring registration of suppressors back in 1934. And again, up to May 2021, NFA had 2.66 million suppressors on the books. Now, American gun owners are on track to exceed 87 years of registered silencers just in the last 3 years alone. That's good news. It's good news that people are so a few things, and we've kind of covered this in the past, especially at the end of the last year, talking about this stuff. The process has become less cumbersome. Wait times at the beginning of the article, you can go read it for yourself. That Barry talks about is, this stuff used to take sometimes years. You go buy a suppressor, and then you go through all the forms and just all the stuff you have to do to get it, and then you'd wait months, if not years, to your name to clear and just go through the fiasco that it was, and still kind of is to an extent, but it's. I mean, I think we highlighted. I mean, these things are down to days. It used to be that if you got in under 6 months or even 2 months, that was a win. It's like, holy smokes, I can go buy a can and have it back before hunting season. That'd be great. Now it's down to days. So, um, there's still some elevated costs as it comes with the tax stamp and accomplishing your Form 4s and multiple NICS checks, but the process is easing up. The cost of these things, they're more affordable, but I think the wait times and being able to utilize them has inspired folks and empowered them to go out and make these part of their toolbox as hearing protection, as being good neighbors, all the right reasons we've highlighted. And it's certainly interesting to, Barry is reporting here that um, all these suppressors are out there that are registered, that people that we know are out there, and um, we've had no expansion of the mob or poaching ring, things that we've discussed and dispelled. Again, it just articulates and shows that there's just people out there wanting to have good experiences and be good neighbors, and these are just a simple tool that do nothing more than that. So it's good people are taking advantage of it, and hopefully you decide to do the same in the coming year. Getting down to the end here, kind of a long first out of the box for the new year, but lots of good information and some wins we needed to celebrate. Another one to celebrate. This from Bob Matthews. Governor DeWine of the state of Ohio is expected to sign a bill that came out of another bill, Ohio Senate Bill 58, that prohibits financial institutions from tracking firearm and ammunition purchases um, by not allowing those merchant category codes to be set up. So um, we have another proactive win here. This one in Ohio. We celebrated a few of those at the end of last year, maybe in the fall as governors were signing those. New Hampshire was one of those as well that I got to work on. So this is again another good trend here, and certainly great work here by the Ohio Legislative Sportsmen Caucus, by Bob and the leadership there on the ground, and getting that to the governor's desk and expecting that gets signed, and protecting law-abiding people, protecting their privacy, and stopping potential discrimination on those folks. Wrapping it up, I said there at the top, a little retrospective of the election 2024 cycle, what we saw. So many of us as was discussed here via our I Fish, I Hunt, I Vote campaign. And it was highlighted almost right away during the primary season and after is that, we have so many hunters, licensed hunters, and then these numbers were just bantied about. Um, that really just kind of bore out about 20% of licensed hunters, active hunting folks. We're not voting, we're not registered to vote. So we used Pennsylvania, some other swing states that were pretty key in the 2020 election that had all the licensed hunters simply shown up and registered to vote and actually voted that could have swung elections one way or another. So on the heels of this year, and it appears so many folks did show up. There was a lot of voter turnout, but we can still do better. And the goal here and the idea that Christian is reporting on is being able to register folks and make it available to register to vote while you're getting your hunting and fishing license. Um, the National Assembly of Sportsmen's Caucuses identified hunter and angler voter registration as an issue back in 2004 and has been working to improve it since that time. States such as Georgia and Virginia have passed legislation for voter registration at the point of obtaining hunting and fishing licenses. States like New Jersey and New York have attempted to pass legislation for years, with New York going as far back as 2009. It is critically important that sportsmen and women vote if we wish to have pro sportsmen and women elected state officials, or at least those who are willing to learn about and consider the critical role that sportsmen and women have in conservation before casting their votes on conservation related matters. And, we're going to bear that out here. Sessions are popping off this week in most of the country. Most of those legislative bodies come back in this week, and bills are pre-filed and getting dropped that our work is still cut out for us, and we're going to be gainfully employed here. So again, that saying that elections have consequences, we're going to get into that and why this I Fish, I Hunt, I Vote campaign is still very relevant and important as we move towards the next voting cycle, next election cycle. It's also why CSF has been working with states in the past 2 decades to make voter registration forms available when sportsmen and women purchase their hunting or fishing license, whether in person or online. As a real world example of just how critical the voice of the sportsmen and women can be, a newly formed state Senate district in New York in 2012 was decided by a mere 18 votes, and some consider it to be the bellwether for increasing anti-sportsman sentiment in the state legislature. That following January, legislation like the New York SAFE Act, a sweeping gun control package, was passed. This was not a one-off occurrence, however. States like New York continue to have closely decided local races, and the past gubernatorial race was the closest decided since 1994. The results of local elections also matter. Local ordinances and regulations from the town, county, or state impact sportsmen and women access to hunting and angling opportunities, and in some cases, even whether a firearm or archery equipment can be utilized in certain jurisdictions for any purpose, hunting or otherwise. Voting participation by sportsmen and women is therefore essential, starting at the lowest level of government where many future leaders in higher government come from. Adding millions of pro sportsman voices during the election process could help educate and motivate our current and future decision makers to work to pass sound, pro sporting, and pro conservation policies. The leading voice in conservation in the nation, sportsmen and women, who bring millions of dollars to conservation funding to their respective states from the American System of Conservation Funding, deserve to and should be represented at the polls. No doubt. It has become common for residents to receive voter registration applications at other state-run departments such as DMVs. A state fish and wildlife agency should be given some opportunity to support voting rights for those who use their services. The sportsman voter, providing access to an individual to fill out registration while already filling out the same required information at a state-run department should be a seamless and user-friendly option for the applicant. CSF will continue to prioritize sportsman voter legislation to provide sportsmen and women with equitable access to voting registration materials to ultimately ensure sportsman's voice continues to ring loudly in Capitol buildings across the great nation. Way to bring us home. Christian, great article there. That's it. I say that's it. A little long. My apologies. But again, lots to celebrate, really, and get back into it. Looking forward to a great year with you guys. Looking forward to bringing more listeners, spreading the word here about the podcast, about what we do. We have new leadership in the CSC. We got new leadership in the state houses. So lots of good stuff to come. Again, sessions popping off. So there will be a lot of intel, a lot of info coming out. Hopefully most of that is good, but again, we always have some stuff that we got to head off. So just looking forward to a great year of reporting and bringing you guys the information that's happening in real time on the ground in your state capitals, on the Hill. Celebrating our victories when we can, bringing you more of our leadership throughout the year. We got some great feature stuff. I think I teased it at the end of last year. I think we're pretty much already booked for our feature shows, almost halfway through the 25 year already. So, again, more to come every other Thursday. We're back with you. That means tomorrow, as this particular program drops, we will have our first feature episode for the 2025 calendar year. I'll be bringing our Vice President of Policy, Brent Miller, back onto the show, our first guest for 2025. We're gonna talk about what I guess kind of teed up the upcoming legislative session calendar, what we've got going on at the state level, some policy priorities of ours, what we're looking to do proactively. We constantly talk about being on our heels, but we've got, I think we got some great stuff that we're looking to get ahead of and not let folks dictate to us what we're trying to do. So again, super long. I keep saying that, so I'm gonna pull the cord here and jump. Thanks for making last year a success. Thanks for returning and coming back with us. We appreciate the listenership. We appreciate the support. Continue to like, subscribe, rate, all that. It's going to say it in the ad again. So that I hate to be redundant, but feels good to say it. Your support by way of those 5-star ratings on Apple, your subscriptions on Spotify and iHeart and wherever else you have an opportunity to like, subscribe, rate, leave a quick comment. Hey, love the show. It's great. That helps so much. It helps us get out in front of people to be discovered, things like that. If people are interacting with us, algorithms pick it up and put us out there to be discovered. If you don't like what we're doing, I can't help you, but I'll ask you to kindly move on. Just don't leave those 1 stars. We don't have that problem yet, and I appreciate that. So we will see you guys tomorrow for our first feature episode of 2025. As always, CSF is your inside connection to outdoor legislation. 2025 is here. Let's have a great year. We'll see you guys.
Thanks for joining us on this edition of the Sportsman's Voice podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, your support is crucial, and you can help us out right now by leaving a review, filling in those 5 stars where available, sharing this episode with friends and family, and engaging with us socially. CSF can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. Together, we can protect the outdoor sports we love and continue to keep you informed wherever you are. That's it for this week. Until next time, we'll see you later.